Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Korra fan commentary track video. This one's going to be for Book 2 Spirits, Episode 12, Harmonic Convergence. So continue to suggest other episodes of Avatar and Korra in the comment section below. But to set up your copy of the episode to sync up with this commentary track, have your copy of the episode ready to go at the start of the episode, including the whole introduction and recap. Then I'll be wrapping up this intro to the video in just a little bit. Then there'll be about 10 seconds where there's no audio, just pure silence. And then when I start speaking again after that 10-second silence, that's when you should hit play. That's when I'm going to hit play, and we should be synced up after that point. So, bringing the introduction of the video to an end after the 10-second silence and you hear me speak again, that's when you hit play, that's when I hit play, and we should be synced up. Okay, so here we are with K212 Harmonic Convergence, the second part of the 4-part Book 2 Spirits finale. I rate this episode, I think it's in around 25 or 26 on my list of overall Korra episodes, so relatively highly, given that like the first 40 or so episodes are in sort of the top, 2-ish tiers. There are episodes that are better than this. The last 2 parts of the finale are definitely more memorable, bigger episodes. But this has some very important stuff in it. Unalaq's plan finally revealed, and it's one of those episodes that's wait, why do people seem to have such a hard time with Unalaq? His plan is explained pretty, fair enough here, in a very similar way to the way, Zahir reveals his plan. And their, overall goals aren't overly different, given that ultimately, Unalaq and Zahir are, linked by being both Red Lotus. If you watch what he says towards the end of this episode, keeping in mind he is Red Lotus, and that ultimately he is the leader of Zahir in this episode, and apply, what's happening here to basically Book 3, you realize it is so similar, just from slightly different perspectives. One more focused directly on spirits, one more focused on the idea of world leaders, but fundamentally bringing chaos, a new world, to the forefront. But yeah, we got this little bit of drama here, the Book 2 kind of romance drama stuff. It's pretty frustrating, but here, at least, I think it's fairly logically done here, in the sense of there's no need to talk about it at this point in time. It would just be overly distracting for Korra heading into the big battles to deal with this. I think they try a little bit too hard to make it out that Mako's in the wrong for not saying anything here, but timing wise I don't think it's the right time. In the same way that I think we're okay with Katara not addressing the relationship with Aang until after the end of the series, I think it's the same has to apply here for Mako not bringing this up when Korra is so focused right now on what she needs to do. She's really intense and focused right now, but instead of making it just logic, yeah, now's not the right time to talk about this, they instead make it oh, Mako's afraid of Korra. Ooh, it's just the weird awkwardness here. I think they could have taken a little bit more of a serious perspective. I get awkwardness is kind of a trait of Mako's, but I think they overdo it a little bit here, and going into Book 3, of course. But yeah, intense Tenzin here, crash and smash, all about the plan here. But it is protective father Tenzin here, wanting to protect Jinora. He sort of was okay with her being Korra's spirit guide, and now this has happened. He's making sure to get her back, and that's that drive I really like from Tenzin here. It's sort of it's maybe an aspect of Aang we never really got to see, so this is a cool thing that feels very Tenzin in terms of a character arc. So I definitely like this. And then the Boomy setup in this episode is great as well, because we get to see him be dismissed a few times for his stories, but then his stories become the core of the actual attack plan, and then he actually executes. We see one of those wild stories basically happen, and he proves himself to us as the audience and everyone else basically by freeing them. But he's kind of let's just get on with it. It's a really kind of funny the way the story kind of comes full circle. But yeah, here we go. Senna. Wish we had more scenes with her in the series. Just really address that kind of Avatar and their parents dynamic a little bit more, especially Korra and her mother. But yeah, need to get Tonraq back. So many injured. And I know a lot of people criticize Book 2 for not really focusing on the North versus South thing. I think in general, across the entire franchise, it is sort of a little bit of an issue that they've never really properly addressed the issue between North and South in terms of properly bringing up the story about how the South formed from the North and so on in context, basically, and not just be like a fact of like how it happened. So like it's not really in North and South the comic. The show doesn't really get it across. ATLA here again doesn't really get it across. The dynamic here is ultimately more that Unalaq, to make his overall plan, which is Vatu focus with the spirit portals happen, is making this other thing happen. There's not really a fundamental issue that is causing a war between the North and South. It's just the Northern soldiers are following Unalaq's orders and are occupying the South are defending themselves. So I'd put that down as more of an issue with just the franchise than anything. And yeah, Bumi's second story here. And there's one gem in this of like they don't really have a plan right now, but Bumi's story does involve basically a tactic. Drop in from above, and Asami is the one who can kind of cut through all the vague details to get to the core of what's going on here. There's some validity to it. Now, did Bumi mean to say that, or is this just Asami making something out of nothing? It's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, this is something, you know, the North, the one way you would say, both poles, basically, the best way to attract both water tribes would be from the air. And now with planes and sky bison, you can do that. Would they be ready for an attack like that? But of course, the one thing they're not prepared for is the idea of, with the spirit portals open, there's spirits, floating spirits able to just be there, also defending. So that's the thing they haven't accounted for. But yeah, this is an interesting dynamic here as well. Asuka and Desna wanting, like, they're done. As far as they're aware, they've accomplished what they needed to do. They don't know Unalaq's full plan either. And are getting worried about some of what he's gotten up to with the whole idea of Desna got injured trying to force open the other portal, so on. Yeah. What they've done up to now has been nothing, really. His real plan is about to happen. And yeah, he doesn't want nations either, which is basically the Red Lotus idea. Pure chaos, just the world to itself. No leaders. He's going to make it happen, though. And yeah, just like that's clever planning of like, you know, of course she's going to come. Of course she's going to try and stop this. Be prepared. That shows good intelligence from Unalaq as a leader of just preparing some defenses. And it's actually pretty well put together, given that he probably doesn't know exactly the extent to which they're going to attack, but that probably from the air is the best place to defend. And yeah, Mako's just like, yeah, there's no way they're expecting this, but like, yeah, flying spirits all over the place, and then properly set up battlements to defend against the air. It's like, yeah. But yeah, it's so risky for Mako Bolin. Asami too, but like Mako and Bolin being like wide open on the wings, it's like pretty crazy that they're able to like aim and execute on the plan so well. But it shows their skill level as benders. That Mako's like very accurate, and then Bolin, you almost forget that one of the key traits he has as a bender is that like subtle touch of this, that accuracy of his bending. As we'll see when he starts throwing the kind of bombs out, the charges out. And then of course Asami's flying skills here. Nice dodging, right up until basically Asuka and Desna get involved. And yeah, Mako's attacks, you know, he hits. And they're going really fast as Sammy's trying to dodge, so he actually... Good under fire, good accuracy from Mako. And then we'll see Bolin here. Also very, very accurate. I love that quick bending of just like... Just immediately snapping them onto everything. And of course... Their defenses aren't perfect here in that they're trying to hit a moving target in the air, but... You know, it's one plane, basically. And yeah, here we go. The Dark Spirits attacking Oogie this time. Kind of highlighting that, I guess, like, this is an attempted spirit possession, which I guess isn't possible here because Oogie is such a large creature here that I guess this spirit couldn't fully get inside Oogie enough to, like, spirit morph him, but can drag him down like this. Just an interesting dynamic that we don't really see. And yeah. Here's the setup for Boomy's arc of like he'll get this dark spirit off, but sacrificing himself, showing the bravery there, just willing to do that. But he ends up being the hero here, which I think makes this episode quite memorable. Of like, you forget that Boomy does have that arc within this book of just him wanting his father to be proud of him and sort of feeling like he hasn't lived up to his father's expectations, but everyone else saying that he has, like the position that he's achieved in the United Forces and so on. But here is us seeing on screen him actually do something that, like, Aang would be very impressed by what he did in this episode. So I do like that we just get to see Boomy being awesome in this episode. Nook Tuk Sky Warrior, that would be a nice sequel. And yeah, here's the twins jumping into action, highlighting how skilled they are. Because Unalaq is an incredibly powerful waterbender. Him training those two, they're very good also. They have the accuracy to take down the plane, whereas the other benders didn't. But yeah, this is these guys out of action for now. And this is what happens over these episodes. Like Mako, Bolin especially sort of take a little bit of a beating over these episodes. So they constantly keep getting back up. Same with Korra, which is pretty impressive. But yeah. Just, whoa, they've been captured. It's over, I guess. Harmonic Convergence is just about to come, and here they are captured. What's going on here? This is the last thing they wanted to happen, of Korra being imprisoned as Harmonic Convergence is about to happen. Tonrock. And yeah, I like that, Rava and Juan talked about the idea of, not giving up prior to the last Harmonic Convergence, and then here's Korra talking about it before this one. Similarly, dire situations, but we'll see what happens. And here we go. New World Order. And I like Korra's kind of statement here of just like, this era has been good, look at what's happened, you are trying to stop that from happening. But he views it as like, Juan drove all the spirits away. They should be back. How can the Avatar be a bridge if they are not trying with the spirits? And that's what he is about. He wants true balance, humans and spirits together. And I think that's what people forget, is like, that's what he wants. And ultimately Korra realizes that there's some validity to what he was saying. Juan was correct in his era to give humans some space away from spirits, but now, 10,000 years later, we need to try again. And so yeah, this is Unalaq going off script. Tonrock appealing to his humanity, if there's any left. Yeah, like, you have a great connection, but your brother, your father, husband, do you not care about them? You'll give yourself over to the spirit of darkness just to make this happen? And he says yes. And he just criticizes other people for not being spiritual and not understanding why it's important for the spirits to be around. And it's true what he says there. No one will be able to stand against him because he is deeply spiritual. He will be able to, adapt well to Vatu and be incredibly powerful. As we see, even with just one element, Unalaq and Vatu combined are incredible in their first sort of showing in the sort of dark avatar state. And it all pretty much comes down to, as the determining factor, the skill level of Unalaq as a bender plus his spirituality. But yeah, I think Bumi is actually good evidence of this, in terms of like someone who actually develops, and as we go forward, is shown to have a good relationship with the spirits. And that this is what we need to get to. Humans being able to more have a good dynamic with spirits. Of course, it's more the later seasons that more highlight that. But that sort of thing, Bumi and Boomju, and so on. We're ultimately building in the series, Korra comics going forward, to the idea of we probably want to have more spirits being able to interact with more humans and have like friendships and known spirits being friendly with humans, and I suppose potentially have a situation where an avatar has a spirit as one of their like companions in a way. A member of a team avatar in the future is a spirit. That's, I think, what we're looking towards in terms of true balance. Not just a bending teacher of each element, but a spirit, actual spirit as well. I like that kind of subtlety there. This spirit likes music, so Bumi's music sort of calms it down slightly. Doesn't turn it away from fully being dark, but neutralizes it just a little bit. But yeah, what a team here. Bumi, Naga, and Pabu. But yeah, the spirit point, like I wished book 3 and 4 had tackled it a little bit more. They more leave it open. They still leave it open at the end of the series. Turf Wars touches on it, but still pretty much just leaves it where it was. We're still waiting to see what the approach is within the series to dealing with humans and spirits. And yeah, Korra's appeal to her cousins. You respect your father. You have to realize you're going to be losing him in what's happened. You've just heard he wants to be the Dark Avatar. Do you think he will still be himself after that merger happens? No one will be safe. And then, specifically to Desna, who really looks up to his father, he won't be your father anymore. Which is exactly what happens the second Unavatsu happens. Unalaq is just gone, and they realize that the second it happens. And this is the loyalty that they have for him, of just like, they really do respect him, but they can't see that what he is doing just now is so wrong. That he's going about this the wrong way, of bringing so much chaos to the world. That the good idea of humans and spirits, of just like, look, these soldiers are just hanging around with dark spirits and things are fine. We want that to be able to happen on sort of a bigger scale without there being true issues between the two groups. So there's elements of it like, yeah, there's some positives here, but they haven't quite realized. I think they haven't quite hit in the writing department on what exact approach they want to take to it. There's still this case of like humans, like spirits, not really respecting humans at all, and it's being unclear about what exact dynamic we want to have. But yeah, Bumi thinks it works on one spirit, it'll work on all of them, but the spirits are individuals just like each human is individual. That's probably part of the learning that a lot of humans need to do. Realizing that each spirit is meant to be viewed as their own individual being. And yeah, I love this. This is perfect kind of Bumi before he has airbending, where it's just like the wild, chaotic, just by accident, completely freaking out, but causing so much damage that if he got actual control of this mecha tank and just tried to cause damage in a normal way, he might have taken out a couple of tents, maybe 2 mecha tanks before he was taken out. But the fact that it goes so wrong is what actually causes all the damage. Him hitting this thing in the wrong spot, it getting taken over by spirits and the thing going haywire, him having no control, is what causes even more damage. And it's so Bumi, just that the crazy plan has just happened before our eyes, and now he actually has a story to tell that they'll believe, and he's just like, oh, it's even I can't believe what just happened type thing. And yeah, Bumi has saved everyone, but also Naga. Perfect setup for the story, but no. But yeah, into the spirit portal. Just ahead of Harmonic Convergence. One last speech beforehand. And this is the arc that's been building since the start of the season of just, will you trust me, Dad? And he does. He's going to accept going back for healing, and now he can trust that this is her job to do. As the Avatar going into this battle, in a way it's the battle that only she can fight, and he accepts it. That's good growth. And yeah, Mako and Bolin given a big task here. They have to fend off Unalaq. Big pressure on them. And so Bolin asking the big questions of like, well, will we be able to get out? What happens if things go wrong? And it's better left unsaid. They know what will happen. That's how bad things are. And just, yeah, they're determined, and they all follow, showing the bravery of everyone. And yeah, the Tree of Time, Vaatu, Unalaq waiting for Harmonic Convergence. I know, this is a big thing, like the amount of people who just walk in here straight away, and it's just Unalaq there with some spirits. It's like, he just goes straight at them, of just showing that having a spiritual connection, having the spirits be able to help you, and showing that value of if humans get on well with spirits, we can have spirits more heavily involved in the stories and get a better sense of what they're like. But like, big Avatar state, wind blast, Unalaq, really, really powerful water bending. And here we go, Mako Bolin versus Unalaq. Now, watch how good Unalaq is against these two. These two in the next season beat Gazan. Like, Mako can beat Minghua, and then the two of them beat Gazan. But Unalaq is more than a match for the two brothers, 2-on-1. Two very powerful, very skilled benders, who are amazing as a tag team. And Unalaq completely sort of stonewalls them and actually has the advantage. That speaks to his level as a bender. And it's where I always say that, like, I'm not over-exaggerating Unalaq when I say he's really, really good. Like, it's like Unalaq and Katara are like the two big waterbenders, and there's a reason I view them as being like somewhat, on par with each other, depending on what era of Katara you're talking about and so on. But yeah, Harmonic Convergence is here. No closing the portals now until this thing's over. We saw the planets, of course, align and so on, highlighting the magnitude of this event, that this only happens every 10,000 years. It has a huge effect on the planet in terms of just energizing everything, basically. And it's just like, spiritual energy is at its most powerful. This is the most powerful energetic event in the entire Avatar universe. Powerful enough to give Vaatu the power to finally break out of the Tree of Time. And it's also this power here is what gives other people airbending. That's what happens. Like, it's explained in next season, but this is what happens. It happening here is what causes that to happen. The wave of energy hitting the entire planet is what gives people energy. And yeah, Vaatu is out, but this isn't the crazy situation that we think it is, because Korra versus Vaatu, Korra should be able to beat him. Wan could, and you have to say that Korra, as a more modern bender, is more powerful than Wan is, in terms of she has a better mastery over the four elements than Wan did, realistically, just because of the difference between sort of ancient bending and modern bending. She should be able to beat him. That's why Unalaq said that, why there is a requirement in his plan that he has to tip the scales back in the favor of darkness by there being a dark avatar to counter the actual avatar. And I think Vaatu realizes that he was beaten by a combination of human and spirit, so he'll need to do the same to beat Rava. So that's the big turning point here, meaning that that's the pressure on the brothers. Can they fend off Unalaq enough where they can stop him from merging with Vatu. So there's so much pressure on our Team Avatar members here to just stop these two from merging. That's a cool dynamic for a fight, of how will Korra do against the person that again in the same fight that Wan fought, and then the brothers with a really tough task here against Unalaq. It's really good setup for, okay, big fight, how badly is this going to go? And then we of course see it goes quite badly. But like I said, very good episode. I've of course never really had a problem with Unalaq, and I personally have never really understood why there's such hatred towards the character, especially when like his goals, ideals, and sort of the themes of what he's exploring are dealt with so clearly in this book and the aftermath of this book. Like, it's baffling to me that people act like he's this really like overly convoluted villain, and it doesn't make any sense when it's like, wow, a deeply spiritual man wants the world to be more spiritual and wants the spirits to be back in the world. What a complicated thing to ask for. And then of course he has that Red Lotus philosophy of he ultimately wants this chaotic world with no nation borders, where the world is just this one big thing with humans and spirits living together. That he doesn't specify it, that like there's no world leaders, but with no nations, of course, there's no world leaders either. That Unalaq at this point is technically still Red Lotus, and while the Dark Avatar aspect was not part of the plan, it still is, you know, something ultimately down the Red Lotus side of things that they would want. And I think especially the scenes I mentioned earlier on with Tonrock talking to his brother about, you know, you're willing to sort of let go of your humanity for this, and the appeal to Eska and Desna to see sense in all of this and realize your father's going down this path where he doesn't care about anything else except the spirits now. What are you going to do? Putting the pressure on them to, when will you act to make the right choice? When will you think for yourself and not just to help your father type thing? And I think a lot of these arcs are actually built up pretty well. In addition to, of course, Boomy getting his big moment to sort of give the heroes a chance going into the final battle here. So, yeah, lots of, I think, good stuff in this episode. The finale was fantastic. It's definitely one of my big memories from being part of the fandom at the time, was when Nickelodeon put this finale up online in I think they put it up on nick.com for everyone first, and it was this big online event. And I think in the aftermath they basically said that like they'd never seen such massive numbers of people watch on nick.com, just highlighting how big of a digital sort of phenomenon it was at the time. And that as much as ultimately I think we all view what happened with Korra and them switching it from being on TV to digital, Korra was also a show that came out at that time when in general everything was switching from being on TV to being digital. A lot of people kind of beginning to, you know, cut the cord at that point in time. And in a way, Korra, you kind of have to view it as being one of those first shows that really, you know, showed like that this probably is one of those shows that is better suited actually to just being on the website, easily accessible to the people who want to view it. And that, you know, how much does TV and TV ratings on Nickelodeon matter? Of course, it's more the more problem with that is it more spoke to, I suppose, the way Nickelodeon treated the show, of the suddenness at which they would constantly change the date and the time, and, you know, switching it from TV to digital, and it didn't feel like it helped the show to just do that switch. It'd be one thing to properly plan it in that way. It's another thing to just suddenly do it on the fly like that, even though there was some more nuance to it than just Nick did a bad thing and switching it to digital. Because especially now, most people do probably watch online, and the idea of sort of appointment television, watching a TV show episode as it airs, is kind of like almost like a crazy thing these days, which is kind of funny. So, yeah, there are my thoughts on Harmonic Convergence. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.